Hi, my name's Melinda Thomas and welcome to Surface. Surface is a high-performance, salon-exclusive hair and skincare that completely respects your personal health on the earth. I'm really excited to share with you today the newest line in the Surface family, which is Surface Curls. We're going to be working on Emily's hair today. She does have a bit of natural curl to her hair and a lot of high lift color underneath, a lot of bleach. So the curl line is going to be the perfect line, an option for her to help to hydrate, moisturize, and increase the elasticity of her hair. The first step that we're going to work with is our curl shampoo, which is going to give us a beautiful, luxurious lather and incredible shine, a lot of moisture into the hair. The second step we're going to work with is our curls conditioner. That's also going to add the moisture and elasticity into the hair. The curl line actually blends the Babassu seed oil along with cocoa butter for a instant penetration and hydration. It's perfect for all hair types. You can go from the finest texture of hair all the way up to the most coarse curly texture. And it's actually really nice for straight hair that is a compromise due to either heat styling, high lift blondes, and any type of hair that actually needs elasticity in it. So we're gonna go ahead and get Emily shampooed and conditioned, and then we'll come back and work with our third step, which is the curl whip mousse. All right, so we got Emily shampooed with our curl shampoo and conditioner. Now we're actually gonna give her a nice clean up on her haircut. She is growing out the top part of her mohawk, but we wanna clean up and give her a little bit more of a defined disconnection through the sides of her hair. One of the things that is really important when you're working with a disconnection is to ensure that your partings are equal on both sides. And one of the easiest ways of being able to find your side ridge, which is where I want my disconnection to start, is by taking either two combs or your comb and your smooth edge razor and finding that central point where they're going to meet in the middle. That's naturally where the head's going to start rounding, so it's going to be easy to disconnect this bottom and side from the top, give her a really cool, funky looking mohawk. We're going to take the bottom part here a little bit shorter and add some framework with the razor through the top so she can get a lot of natural texture and volume through there and bring out a little bit more of her natural curl as well. So the first thing we're going to start with, now that we've got her all sectioned out on both sides, we're going to get our clipper out and we're just going to take her down to about a 1.5 through the sides here. All right, so when I'm working with my clipper to create a softer edge through right at the ridge line here, I'm coming in and gently using a rocking motion to bring it out so you don't get a really hard line through the top there. We can also go back and blend that out with our razor for a little bit more definition, softening to blend it to our disconnection. Okay, so as I'm working with my clippers, I'm making sure that I cut against the grain the entire time, especially around her ears, where she has a little bit more of a growth pattern that's moving backwards. We're gonna work around. So now that I get her, that we got her sides clippered down to a 1.5, I'm gonna work with my Surface Smooth Edge razor and I'm gonna detail and soften all of the little hairs that are still around her face here. We're actually just gonna take the razor straight down to the skin. Let's just soften off those edges here. Go around the ear, nice and soft with just the tip of the razor as we're working. This is still gonna leave it a little bit more of a feminine sort of look, even though we went in with the clipper and gave her a nice hard edge. So right behind the back of the ear where she's got a little bit more of a heavy growth pattern, we can get in there and smooth those hairs off as well. Another thing that we can do, soften just these little hairs that are right at the part line here. So we're gonna come and bring our comb in and our razor directly over top of it, and we're gonna soften those hairs, bringing that forward. It's a little bit of a dusting technique with a razor. Emily had mentioned during our consultation that she does have a little bit of challenge with the bottom of her hair getting a little too long, and she does have quite a bit of a colic under there, so we're just going to get in there and shave off a little bit of that hair underneath. And as we're working with the comb, just like as if you're using shears, you want to make sure that you're actually doing a little bit of a beveling technique with that comb too, so you're not coming straight into the hair, you're coming up and out. Okay, so now we finished the sides and we're gonna start working through the top here. We're gonna just basically trim the edges a little bit because she does wanna keep the length as much as possible, but her hair being as thick and as coarse as it does have a tendency to fall flat. So we're gonna get in there and do a lot of framework to create some lift and volume through the interior. Within the surface cutting system, we do work with a technique called framework, and what that is putting a small network of some shorter hairs over or under the longer hairs that are gonna help to hold those longer hairs up. And I tell my guests that it's essentially like building a tent or a home. If you don't have a pole up underneath of that tent or having a frame within the house to hold the outer surface out, it's just going to collapse and it's going to fall. So we're going to create that framework within her hair. So basically her hair does all of the work for her. We are going to rely a little bit on the styling product to create our finish. However, the majority of her haircut is just going to work for her. So now that we're going to start working through the top, I'm just going to spray a little bit more of my protein cream on there for my control. And keep the hair nice and damp as we're working. We're actually going to start at the high point of her head, which is where the comb is going to balance on the top of her head and all four sides going to leave, so it's about right here. The first section is going to move back from the high point. The same technique that we use to break our disconnection here by taking our comb and our razor and finding where they meet in the middle. This is the ridge line through the back here. And this whole section is what we considered from the high point to our ridge line right in the back here. This is our black zone. So the first thing we're going to do is work with a parting no wider than the blade of the razor. Move that straight up, and we're just gonna make sure that the blade of the razor stays as parallel to the hair as possible. We don't wanna come in and hack into it this way. We want a nice soft fluid movement just to shatter off a little bit of length through the ends there. We're gonna work all the way down the middle of the crown first, using our first section as our guideline. We just have a little bit to cut here, really fluid movement. So we're getting to our last section in the middle, which is right at that rear ridge. There's not much hair to cut there. So that's the first section. We're gonna work number 2, number 3 on the crown here. Lifting that straight up and shatter the edges off. We're not taking a whole lot of length off of there because she does wanna keep it as long as possible. Now we're gonna get into our third section in our crown. We're going to incorporate that. Our guide comes from the middle, so we've got that corner right here to cut off. We're actually going to take our next guide directly from our black section, about a ½ inch from the rear point or from the high point here, and we're going to use that to establish our guide through the front. Come through. Now we're going to work with a motion of the razor. You're going to have that pointed directly up to the ceiling, and we're working underneath our fingers. It's a real soft shattering motion.
Okay.
So we're coming in from underneath, parallel to the hair, real soft shattering motion all the way through. Since our guide is coming from our black section here, you don't have to worry about picking up the hair next to it.
I can't even see the razor, so it looks like you're actually cutting it.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna be awesome. Okay.
Good?
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we just worked through our front section and brought our layers forward. So now we're gonna actually cross-check it the opposite direction. So since we came in vertically, moving this way, cross-checking is gonna come from behind and horizontal. And essentially what we're looking for is a really long tag or hairs that we happen to not pick up as we were cutting. Because we are working with a smooth edge razor and it gives a softer edge to the ends of the hair, it's actually tapering the ends of the hair to a point and giving a soft shattering. You're not going to have a blunt solid line through there, and that's okay. So, and everything's looking pretty good. The last thing that we're going to do through the top and the sides here is we're going to just do a little bit of like an invisible layer, an upblending technique, just to soften the disconnection between the sides and the top here. This is actually going to help to support all of the hairs that she wants to move up into the mohawk, because she's going to have a small network of those shorter hairs that are going to frame that hair and want to move it into the center here. So how we're going to do that, so we're just going to take our side ridge right from underneath there. Okay, so we're just going to come in real softly from underneath and just do a real slight invisible layer through the sides here. So we're going to work that all the way around. Again, we don't want to hack into the hair and create like chop marks in there, so you want to make sure that you keep your razor as parallel to the hair to soften it as possible, while still removing just a tiny little bit of hair there. So now our very last step that we have to work with is to connect our crown area with our mohawk in the back of her head. Okay, so we're going to remove just a little bit of the length off of the tail of her mohawk back here with the tip of our blade. Keep it nice and soft. Okay, so I want to create like a lot of lift and volume and texture through the back here. So I'm actually going to do another upblending technique to remove some of the bulk and weight out of here while maintaining length. So we're going to section vertically down here. So we're coming in, fingers pointed towards the floor, palm to the head. The razor's coming up and it's going to move away from the scalp. And again, we're keeping it as parallel to the hair as possible. So we're just going to come in and bring it up. Really soft fluid technique as we're working here. And we're just going to round that all the way into the crown. Working into our next section. You can see she has a little bit of like a corner and a heavy spot right there in the nape area, so we're just going to shatter that off. And all the way up into the round of the crown there. So now that we've got the length that we want in there, we're gonna do a fun little technique that we call horizontal framing, but we're actually gonna round our razor and our comb together. This one I have a lot of fun with. So you wanna think of it as a fluid motion that you're coming in and wrapping out with that razor. So you're coming in really soft. This is creating some network of some shorter hairs underneath those longer hairs that are really gonna help to give her that volume and lift that she wants out of there. Okay. So again, we're coming in and we're not going all the way down to the scalp. We're gonna come in probably about a good inch out from her scalp area here as we're rotating our razor through. It's nice and soft, just to create that lift. So we're going to continue our upblending technique that we were doing from our disconnection through the top and the crown area here. Again, this is just creating that soft and visible layer that's going to help the mohawk move into the center. Nice clean partings. So you're always in control of that hair. So the last technique that we're gonna work with on Emily's hair is called vertical framing. And that's actually gonna take our razor and we're gonna point it up towards the ceiling again. And we're gonna create some shorter hairs and a network in there of support that's gonna help to hold the longer hairs up and give her that volume that she's looking for. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna section that hair and we're actually gonna find where the hair starts bending. And this is where we wanna start our framing because that's the, where the hair is actually gonna really support that longer hair. So we're just gonna come in and move directly straight up, removing just a really small network of some hairs in there. This technique, it's really important not to get in there and hack into the hair because you're gonna create holes and really weird growth patterns in there that you don't want. So we really want a nice fluid motion. This creates a little bit more separation and movement within the hair when you're doing it vertically. If you want to get some lift and volume out of the hair, that's going to give you some support but not quite as much separation or removing the bulk out of it, we would actually come in a vertical or a horizontal technique and we'd actually come up from under the hair and move in this direction horizontally. So we're going to continue our vertical framing all the way through Emily's hair. Especially in that crown area where she's got a little bit more bulk. So this is a little bit more of an on-purpose technique than just texturizing the hair because we're doing it for a specific purpose as opposed to just randomly removing chunks of hair out of the head. All right, so now that we've got our haircut finished here, Emily is ready for the style. So our very last step in our surface curl system is our curl whip mousse. This is actually positioned a little bit more of like a leave-in conditioner. This has a glycoprotein complex in there that will help to mesh and fuse the hair's fiber back together, creating a long-lasting frizz and humidity resistance. It's actually the same technology that they use on burn patients to mesh the skin back together. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna have Emily actually apply the mousse into her hair herself. This process we call an interactive styling process. So your guests can actually get the product in their hand. They can feel the texture of it, and they also know exactly how to use this product at home. So they're not coming back, oh, I don't like the way that the product works, because you actually taught them exactly the way to use it. So what we're gonna do, Emily, is we're gonna take and shake our can really well. We're gonna do about a plum size amount. You're gonna notice how like airy and foamy that this is. All of that babasu oil and cocoa butter formula in there as well is gonna infuse moisture into her hair and that protection. So she's gonna take the mousse and she's gonna work it into her hands, and we're just gonna scrunch it into the hair from the base to the ends all the way through. You'll notice right away after she's putting the mousse into the hair how much shine that she gets out of it too. I have noticed an incredible amount of compliments on that with my guests. The nice thing about the curl line is that you can actually layer the mousse with other products to give a little bit more support and hold to the hair. If you want a natural feeling curl, you can either scrunch the curl mousse into the hair and just let it air dry. Otherwise, you want a little bit more of a firmer hold, you can layer it with other surface products in the line. I'm going to choose Taffy Whip today. Taffy Whip is actually made with a shiitake mushroom fiber. It's really fun to play around with. I'm going to allow Emily to apply this to her damp hair, and we're going to work with it on her dry hair as well. We're going to use about a lima bean size. As you can see, it's going to be really kind of fun and fibery in there. And what this is going to do, it's actually going to wrap that fiber around her hair and rubberize her hair. So it's going to give us an amazing pliability, a lot of shine, flexibility, and strength to the hair. But it's going to stay completely soft. There's no crunch or hardening to this. So you're going to take the Taffy Whip, go ahead and rub it into your hands again. Same thing that we did with our mousse. We're going to work it from the base to the ends all the way through. Most of the time, if you're not explaining how to use the products to your guests, they might take that at home, squirt a huge dollop into their hand and just kind of slap it right on the front of their hair and wonder why the front of their hair looks greasy or crunchy. All right, so now we're going to get our diffuser out and we're going to work with the blow dryer to get the volume and the curl and the texture out of Emily's hair. Okay, so for our finishing step, now that we've got Emily all blow dried, we're gonna do a little bit more of the taffy whip to have some fun. We're gonna do a fun little technique that usually gets people kind of excited. We'll call it the taffy clap. So you're gonna come in here and we're just gonna get our fibers all through her hair. So this shiitake mushroom fiber that you see floating around in the air in her hair, again, that's gonna rubberize that hair and rubberize that curl and give us that shine and pliability and support within the hair shape, but still remain nice and flexible and soft. So we don't have to have a crunchy finish to our hair to have some wildness and some fun. So you can get in there and define all of her little curls, add that shine in there. We have our Surface Curls Mohawk. So working with, again, to recap, our Surface Curls shampoo, our Surface Curls conditioner, and our Surface Curls Curl Whip Mousse, our three-step system that's going to hydrate, moisturize, and increase the elasticity of the hair with the benefits of babassu oil, cocoa butter, and the amaranth protein complex to help add that strength into the hair as well. This is our Surface Curl line.